I feel the longer this goes on and I'm stuck in quarantine, the more I look like Marv from Home Alone. Like just wild, crazy hair, crazy beard. You know, might change my name to the Sticky Bandits or the Wet Bandits or something like that. It's crazy. Whew. Wow. All right. Well, we're in chapter 8. We just did the intro, kind of like the basics, whatnot. And section 1 was just solving quadratic equations. We're going to actually jump right into that. We're going to move to this page, example 1, solving quadratic equations by factoring. All right, and then I'm going to move into example 2, square rooting, and then I'm going to keep going, and my whole goal is to get done these 2 pages here. So, a lot of work to do. I'm going to see what I can get done. Don't want to make this video too long, but I also want to try and keep it in chunks. So, let's get started here. All right. So solving equations or quadratic equations by factoring. So the whole goal here is to kind of look at it and then develop a plan about what would be the best way to solve this, okay? And this is A. It says x squared plus 15x plus 44 equals 0. My goal is to find x. That's what I want, okay? So this is in the solving by factoring. So I'm looking for the factors of 44 that add up to 15. So 1 and 44. No, they don't add up to 15. 2 and 22. Nope, they add up to 24. 3 doesn't go in. 4 and 11. 4 plus 11 is 15. There it is. I'm good to go. So this factors to x plus 4 times x plus 11. Now this is a very important concept, so do your best not to use photomath or any of that fun stuff. Okay, I know you guys are using it when you get stuck. I get it, but remember, I'm here to help you guys out. I just want you to do well and understand the math so that this doesn't come up and bite you later. So now I have x plus 4 times x plus 11, and I said each one of those equal to 0, okay? And when you've been doing this for a while, you just see when you have x plus 4, your answer is going to be negative 4, because negative 4 plus 4 is 0, and this is going to be negative 11. So those are my 2 answers. Okay, now we have B. So B is x squared minus 7x equals 15. 18. So what I want to do is I want to get everything to one side. I want it to be equal to 0. So I subtract 18 from both sides, and I get this equation. From here, I'm looking for the factors of negative 18 that add up to negative 7. Okay? So 1 and 18, we have 2 and 9, 3 and 6, and I just look at these and I'm looking for which grouping here could give me a 7. 3 and 6 could give me a 3 or a 9. 2 and 9, they could give me 11 or a 7 because I'm adding and subtracting them. All right, so my answer is going to be 2 and 9. Since I need a negative 7, it's going to be a negative 9. So it's x minus 9 times x plus 2 equals 0. And then you're going to see x equals 9 and x equals negative 2. Okay? I showed all my work in my notes. I'm about halfway through, so I should be getting that up probably within the next week or so. Okay, now there are 2 below that. Okay, I am not going to do those 2 because I'm trying to keep this video on the shorter end. What I will do for you is I will just show you my work. Again, I said this will be up there. So the 2 problems 1 and 5. There they are. You can pause the video and you can see it. All right. So number 1, I factored to x minus 9 times x minus 6. And number 5, I moved the 45 to the left. So I got x squared plus 4x minus 45 equals 0. And then my factors were x plus 9 and x minus 5. So you guys can try those on your own. All right, square rooting. So square rooting is useful, okay, in the sense that, like, sometimes I have a quadratic and it just has one variable, that t squared there, okay? So remember, I'm always going to have 2 answers with quadratics. Why? Because that exponent is a 2. If it was a 3, I would have 3 answers, okay? So here, I basically want to get all my variables to one side and all my numbers to the other side. So I divide by 5 here, and I get t squared equals 1. So now I take the square root of both sides. So my answer is t equals plus or minus, okay, 1. So that's how I typically write it, and that stands for these 2 things here. T equals 1 and t equals negative 1, and you can plug this back in to see if it is true, and of course it is. Now, with b, okay, let's look at b. B is what? P squared plus 9 equals 0. So I'm going to have p squared equals negative 9 because I subtract 9 from both sides. And now I take a square root of both sides. Okay, now because I'm taking the square root of a negative number, I know I'm going to have imaginary parts. So it's going to be p equals plus or minus. Well, the square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of negative 1 is I, okay? So basically, when I take the square root of a negative number, I just focus on the number, all right? In this case, it was 9. The square root of 9 is 3. I break that down, and then I add an I to it because it was negative, okay? I'm trying to give you guys not shortcuts, but I'm trying to give you guys like hints about how to do it, how to check your work, okay? Yes, they turn out to be shortcuts and things like that, but we're not in an ideal situation for learning about this stuff, so I kind of have to give you everything I got to help you out here. So my answer is p equals plus or minus 3i, so p equals 3i, and p equals negative 3i. All right, at this point, you know, like, if my answer is like this, I'm just going to leave it as p equals plus or minus 3, like this step here, okay? Let's see, let's get a pink going here. Sorry, I got to pick out the colors. You know, gotta make it pretty good. All right, so I have my colors to keep us going. So let's look at C. C is interesting. I like C. Okay. M plus 4 squared equals 64. Now, when you guys get into the higher maths, you're going to see problems like this, okay? Don't worry about it. Just kind of treat it like that's an x. Okay, where my hand is, it's an x. So what would I do here? Well, I would take the square root of both sides. So I have m plus 4 equals plus or minus 8. Okay? Now, this stands for m plus 4 equals 8, and m plus 4 equals negative 8. So here I get m equals 4, And here I get n equals negative 12. Why? Because I subtract 4 from both sides. And I get 8 minus 4 is 4, and negative 8 minus 4 is negative 12. All right, D. D is another one, a lot like C. Okay. So I have x minus 5 squared equals, not equals, x minus 5, nope, x plus 5 squared minus plus, I'm losing it here, guys. So I have x plus 5 squared plus 81 equals 0. So now what I want to do is I want to get this piece by itself. Okay, so I can take the square root of it. All right, so I'm going to simply subtract 81. And now I take the square root. All right, so real quick, this is just going to be plus or minus 9i. Y square root of 81 is 9. And then it's a negative number, so I'm going to have that I on it. Now here, this is just going to be x plus 5. So just like I did in the last problem, I have x plus 5 equals 9, I, and x plus 5 equals negative 9i. Don't fall into this trap. I can't combine these two in this next step. So when I subtract 5 here, this is a complex piece, okay? I have an imaginary and a real part, and I can't combine them. So that's just x equals negative 5 plus 9i, and this is going to be x equals negative 5 minus 9i. That's it, okay? Now again, you guys have checkpoints at the bottom of the page. I'm just going to show you the answers. Okay, make sure you guys are able to kind of do these on your own. Don't just copy my work. Okay, make sure you're able to do it. Okay, and then there's 2 more on the next page. I'll show you those. Right there. All right. Now the last way to do it is solving the equation in quadratic form. Okay, and these can be a little tricky. So, these are example 3, and I have A, okay? So I have x to the 4th minus 10x squared plus 25 equals 0. So for a lot of people, this x to the 4th is going to confuse them. All right, but don't let it confuse you. Okay, just view it as like it was an x squared and this was an x. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and factor this. So what are the factors of 25 that add up to negative 10? Very good. Nice job, Farber. Okay, it's going to be x squared minus 5 and x squared minus 5. Okay, you can check me on that. X squared times x squared is x to the 4th. X squared times negative 5 is negative 5x squared. Negative 5 times x squared is negative 5x squared. So that's my negative 10x squared. And negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. So now I have, okay, this right here. I'm going to set each piece equal to 0. Since they're identical, I only have to solve one side. I'm going to have some things called double roots. Okay, so I'm not going to pay attention to that side. I'm going to work right here. It just gives me more room. But note that the answers here are the same as here. So I add 5 to both sides. Then I have x squared equals 5. Now I can take the square root of both sides, and I have x equals plus or minus the square root of 5. And I'm done. Now, with B, B is much like A, okay? But instead of getting the same answers, I'm going to get different ones. So let's look at B. So it's x to the fourth minus 10x squared plus 21 equals 0. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to find my factors of 21 that add up to negative 10. And you guessed it. It is negative 3 and negative 7. So, what I got here is I have two pieces. I'm going to set each equal to 0, and the last one, they were the same, so I had to do it once. But here they're different, so I'm going to have to do it on this side, and I'm going to have to do it on this side. So what I got is I'm going to add 7. And it's going to give me x squared equals 7. And then I take the square root. So I have x equals plus or minus the square root of 7. So I have two answers right there. And remember, I need 4. Add 3 right there, so that's x squared equals 3. And I take the square root. And this is where my other 2 come from. So I have 1 square root of 7, negative square root of 7, square root of 3, and negative square root of 3. There's my answers. Now, there's those checkpoints. Okay, try and do those on your own. See if you can get it. The Unisphere is the world's largest man-made globe. Okay, you guys have been to Orlando, and you've been to Universal, so you know what I'm talking about. It was built as a symbol of the 1964-1965 New York World's Fair. A sphere with the same diameter as the Unisphere globe would have a surface area of 45,239 square feet. What is the diameter of the Unisphere? Okay, the surface area of a sphere of radius is given by S equals 4 pi r squared. And I'm going to do this one with you guys because this one is a good problem. It's something that I could see being on the SATs and things like that. So it gives us the formula S equals 4 pi r squared. And I'm after the diameter. So if I can find the radius, it's game over. Okay? So 45,239 is my surface area. That's S. Equals. Now, you can do this one of two ways. You could treat it as 4 and pi, or you could think about it like pi is just a number. So I could do 4 times 3.14, and that is 12.56, I believe. So all I did was 4 times 3.14, and that's 12.56. Okay, and these are approximate, so I'm going to put in those. Now I divide by 12.56. And I get r squared is approximately equal to, it looks like it's going to be 3,601.83. Now to find my answer, I take the square root. So I'm going to get plus or minus about 60. Now, I told you I have 2 answers because that was a 2 up there, but my answer is really only 60, and it was feet. Now, why is it only 60? Because you can't have a negative distance. So my diameter would be 120 because 2 times my radius is 120. So that is 8.1 in its entirety. Okay. So we'll start off on 2. I'm going to give you guys some time to work on your web assigns, things like that. Don't forget to reach out to me if you have any questions. Stay classy, all you cool cats and kittens.